Okay, this is my first, this is going to be my first YouTube video. I'm Chris, nice to meet you. I've tried to do this like 3 times. Either my mic that I've hooked up keeps just randomly dropping out, or like before I put my phone too close to my laptop and the fan was louder than my voice in the video. So hopefully this 3rd time it will work. Please work computer, please work phone, thank you. So I wanted to make a YouTube video, YouTube channel for a while, just talking about myself, a little backdrop to the art that I create, exploring the planets and astrology that I'm really interested in, and also mythology and all the esoteric stuff that I explore. I would say as a person, I am not so fixated on exploring one side or another side in certain things. I like to explore all sides. I don't only watch, for example, liberal media or conservative media. I make sure that I go and venture into all territories to challenge myself, to challenge my beliefs, to hear and empathize with people who disagree with me, who oppose me, who don't like what I think, to see their perspective, to maybe learn from them, to learn how they exist in the world that's very different from me. I think this is a really important thing that we should do, that is becoming less and less easy as we are kind of swept into certain channels and algorithms that keep us within a boundary of ideology that I want to break down a little bit also with these videos, also with my channel. So my intention of this channel is mostly to inspire. I hope that you are inspired by what I say, by what I share. I hope that I engage in, I engage you in thought processes that maybe you hadn't considered. I engage in maybe your creativity, and that you feel more inspired to be creative after hearing me speak. Basically just to inspire, this is my aim. So I have to keep looking and see if the microphone stops working. So I'll have to stop and rejig this if this happens. So basically what I do is I started life as a graphic designer in kind of a trade economic sense. And I see that as like kind of logo design, and the logos, the identity. And also through that process, experimenting a lot with my own identity, sexual identity, gender identity, cultural identity, political identity. All of these things kind of come up in a lot of ways through the work that I create, through the people I engage with. And also I've lived in a few different places in the world and picked up different cultures and different perspectives. One of the places right now where I'm filming this video from is Berlin in Germany, which isn't like the rest of Germany. I'm not it doesn't resonate with me a lot, the German culture, but this city is a really amazing mecca of many different people from many different backgrounds and walks of life coexisting, and it's been an amazing place for me to learn and to observe and to embrace and be challenged by many different perspectives and cultures, ideologies, politics, social ideas, creative ideas, a whole range of inputs that has been at times overwhelming, but also has shaped definitely my brain for where I am now. I'm about to leave the city and I'm going on a new journey. So it's coming to an end. So it seems fitting that with the ending, I start a new journey with this video. So I will just talk for 30, 40 minutes, explain who I am, what I do, what I'm interested in, some little stories here and there of things that have been potent in my recent explorations and experimentations, and express myself a little bit just to give a foundation, as I said, for future videos, and just to kind of create a manifesto or create an intention that serves what is to come after. So yes, I started my life as a graphic designer, working with clients. I still do this. This is my main source of income. But I also venture into many other different things. And over time, as logos and mythos are kind of connected, I've found myself more and more interested in the mythos, in the mythological, in the spiritual, in the esoteric realm, in opposition to the identity or logos or logo realm. So I feel like it's not a unnatural progression. In some ways, I was a graphic designer and now I'm moving more as a mythos designer or a designer of something a little bit less tangible. That's a language beyond physical, a physical construct. I guess that's art in a way. But I try not to assign too deeply identities to myself. I will talk about this a bit later in the video, but I think identities can be traps, and the more that we brand ourselves with these identities, as life inevitably changes, we find it harder and harder to adapt. So for me, I prefer to keep them like water off a duck's back. I like to keep it light. I like to question and obsess over the identity that I've given myself or that has been imposed on me. I like to understand it from many different perspectives. That's just who I am. I don't expect everyone to do that. That's just my modus operatus of existence. So I am interested very much in moving the identity that has kind of encompassed my graphic design work and my branding work into something where I can express mythology, where I can express spirituality, and try and find systems and ways of expressing that I haven't seen, that I haven't experienced, and that are my own kind of recycling of all of the things I input in this amazing time that we all exist in, where we have information at in every direction that we can explore and expand with and be in process with. So I am making my main focus in this time is to try and make a album of music for each planet, or a body of music for each planet. Some of them are across multiple albums, and I've created a kind of mythological construct around each one. You can see here the symbol of Pluto. This is part of some symbols that I've created for the planets, some logos that I've created for my mythos, which is my telling of the planets and how I engage with them and how I understand them through many different methods, through astrology, astronomy, through how they interpret also our health, and also through certain aspects of magic or things that we don't understand yet in science, in physical science, which is what I understand magic to be. So I want to create works for each of the planets, and I want to create videos eventually going into depth for each planet about what I understand them to mean, what they express, what are their personality, what are their archetypes, how do they factor into our reality. I think it's kind of insane that we are looking for life in the cosmos when we exist, which is proof to me that the whole cosmos is alive, that we are but an organism within an organism within an organism, like microbiology that exists in our gut, in our bodies, through bacteria and virus, etc. I think there is macrobiology. I think we are part of a greater symbiotic ecological system called Earth, and that ecological system is part of a solar clockwork called a solar system, and that solar system is part of another ecosystem of a galaxy, and that galaxy is part of, and so on and so on and so on, until you have the whole cosmic ecosystem, which is one ecosystem that we can tap into if we are willing. But we tend to, through the lens of modern physical science, which I'm not against and I don't deny, it's just one perspective that can be quite limited in scope and trap us in a physical existence, unable to imagine ourselves to go beyond. And I think through the planets is by using the planets as figureheads to enter into conversation around the psyche and the link between cosmos and psyche and macrobiology or macroecology. It's an effective and potent way for me to express what I feel, what I sense, and what I believe inside of myself and in my perception of reality. So just to unpack that a little bit more, I want to go into a bit of a tangent into Greek letters. So I was spending a bit of time in Greece over the COVID pandemic times. And I was very interested in the language because the language is the root of a lot of mathematical ligatures. And it's an ancient language. It's also very much connected to a lot of words that we express and use to understand the physical and psychological world in modern times. If you look at most languages, there is some Greek kind of uploaded into the language. For example, in German, we say psychology, and with the root of psi or psi in Greek. I've never quite figured out if it's correct to say psi or psi, so I will say both to please anyone who wants to challenge me for that. So I was very, very interested in when I was in Greece, and I was drawn to any letter that looked like a 0 and a 1 mixed into one letter. Now, I'm not saying that that is intentional, but in my perception, the letter phi and the letter theta both to me symbolize 0 and 1. And with the backdrop of this technological futurism that we are all kind of screaming headfirst into in this time, I was very drawn to these letters. They just spoke to me very deeply, and I wanted to know more. And I had the idea, instead of learning Greek, to go into each letter of Greek, understand its meaning in mathematics, understand its kind of ligature, its graphic design, and what it kind of encompasses. Because as a graphic designer and as someone who's worked in logos, I understand the power that a symbol can contain. That we are kind of that the ether, the infinite possibility is reduced into one tiny stroke or symbol, and that symbol can hold all of that information. So it's very interesting to me to, instead of focusing only on creating the symbols, turn myself the other way around and explore outwards. So by doing this with Greek and not learning the Greek language, and kind of being a little bit pulled in a more a different way of perception, I wanted to just, kind of a little bit have some space between me and the letters, and just to allow myself to slowly work into each one. So understanding the root of phi and psi, I'll put them here, came to me an understanding of a closed system and an open system, right? So what we perceive as physical fact, physics, physiology, also the root of pharma, which was a very interesting parallel during the time of the pandemic, is phi. And that is the circle with the line down the middle. So it's like the two halves of the brain, the left brain, the right brain, or a closed system. So I see the letter phi as representing a closed system, which encompasses the kind of physical realm, which is a binary realm, right? We have up, down, left, right. Gravity creates these binaries. We have binary genders. We have binary everything. We choose to go left, we choose to go right. We're wrong. Fact is established through what is provable or unprovable, etc. So within the physical realm that we exist in, that letter symbolizes. Interestingly, also in mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence, which is a very, very powerful graphic design shape that underpins a lot of the natural design, the organic design of our cosmos. So within that letter, within that mathematical symbol, and within the graphic design that kind of was attached to that symbol, is a lot of power, a lot of understanding around our physiology, around the root of our perception of physiology, and how we can, bring that into academia, bring that into a conversation, bring that into a construct of perception. And on the opposite side, I kind of perceived phi and psi as opposites. I will go into theta a bit later because this was the other 0 and 1 format that I was interested in. But psi was also something that really interested me, because this was, like the word sea, and it was held by Poseidon. Also, we see this in the devil. We see it in Shiva here as holding also. And psi is the root of psyche, psychedelic, psychology, and the psyche, which is an open system. If you can see by the letter, it's this. It's an open system. It's like what the people in church do to praise the Lord. They create the letter psi, and this is an open system, right? It's whereas a closed system phi is the lesson learned, the ability to come to a finding, a factual awareness. Psi, on the other hand, is open. It's process. It's the exploration into the unknown. It's the journey through something before we come to the ability to put it into a closed system, to say, well, we figure that out now, it's factual. So what interested me in this is kind of reflecting this back to politics and kind of social issues at the time, is that we weren't giving any space, or we don't give enough space for process, for people to be in process, for people to be in experimentation and exploration. We want to kind of prove everyone wrong or right, information or disinformation immediately. And this is not how it works. And the whole mythological kind of backdrop to ancient Greece and also many other cultures around the world was found within this explorational space of psyche, of psychology, of how to kind of bring very abstract archetypal ideas into some kind of communication, which were told through stories, which were told through poetry, which were told through non-linear linguistic formats that weren't as ordered and structured as kind of factual academic scientific language. So this binary was something that really stuck with me, and I will put a little thing here where I created a little feed going into Psi, which really feels like, you know, when I watch it, like the brain is opening, which I feel is something really important for us to remember in this time as we argue and we comment section on everything as being right or wrong, that this person is right or wrong, that we are all in a process. We are all in the life process. So yes, we see things are factual. We can all agree on things that we perceive through the senses. But at the same time, behind this, in the greater sense of our existence, is a process. And we're all part of that process, individually and collectively. And I feel like Psi is a beautiful ligature and letter that combines the two sides of the brain into one kind of middle, balanced harmony. So and to remind us to remain open-minded. So those two letters really stuck with me and really helped me to understand also at the time, because we were going through, and I do think we're going through, a kind of social collapse, a collapse of a system of being that is no longer serving us, that we need to evolve, we need to adapt. Also technology is kind of forcing that, for us to look back at spirituality, to look back at kind of the roots of science and perception, and to see how maybe we have come to perceive things in limited or arrogant or myopic ways and not realized, and to kind of go back to maybe some deeper, I would say, indigenous links to our understanding of Earth and our connection to the Earth, which we're losing. I forgot what I was saying, so I'll just keep talking. Yes, the Greek letters. Very interesting. And the last one I was going to talk about was theta, which is a super interesting letter. This was the one that stuck out with me the most, because it's the upward and the lower and the higher mind, or a circle cut into two halves in the horizontal, kind of like feet turned to the side. And this dictates kind of the lower realms or the higher realms. And this is talked a lot about in spirituality and different mythologies, of having a different realm, of the higher realm, the heavens, and the lower realm, the hell, or the line in between being kind of where we are, or if you want to perceive it that way, or the higher mind, the lower mind, the higher self, the physical self, etc. So these perceptions of having two versions of ourselves was definitely speaking to me through the letter theta. And when I went, I know a little bit about theta brainwaves from doing a bit of binaural work with my music. So I understand that to reach a theta brain state, we get there through sleeping and lucid dreaming, dream state, and meditation and prayer. So these things tap into the higher mind, right? Which we kind of can never really understand, which is a little bit the realm kind of governed by Psi, sorry. Whereas the physical realm is governed by Phi. It's binary, whereas the non-physical realm doesn't really have a binary system. It's a world of contradiction. It's a world of of inversion. I prefer inversion than binary, because binary to me pushes things to kind of like a linear polarity. But I prefer to look at a binary as a coin flipped, as the same thing but the inversion, which as two halves complete. So it's not so much that we push people to the left and the right, it's that the right and the left are complementary to each other, and they coexist in order to provide, or should provide, like balancing perspectives that allow us to perceive something kind of in between, something that illuminates the truth beyond any kind of polarized dogma. So that's something that I'm kind of interested in. And I think going back to Greece during the time of this great change, this great this quantum jump into the omega point, if you want to put it this way, is a really interesting time to go back to Greece, where a kind of modern mathematical understanding of the world and democracy in the West was born. I mean, it existed in different formats before that, but our kind of way of perceiving reality in this time is very much shaped by ancient Rome and ancient Greece and the religions of those regions and the mythologies of those regions. The religions came after, which I will talk a little bit about because I find this also very interesting. That to be like the Ouroboros in this time and to go back there was very very illuminating for me, especially during the pandemic. So I share a little bit of that. That's like a lot of basis, a bit of a basis of some kind of current things that are really occupying my mind. And I just made a Mercury album, and I used a lot of that symbolism in there because I felt that this was very fitting. Also because Thoth, theta, omega, theta. If you write this in Greek, it's theta, omega, theta, which is like Mercury, right? Because Mercury is next to the sun, and omega is the ohmage, it's the wattage, it's the energy source, it's our energy source, it's the om. It's very similar phonetically to om, which I find very interesting as well, because also in yoga, in Vedic, om also kind of has a similar representation of energy source, of tapping into the energy source, and the link between the heart and the sun. That's also reflected in astrology as well, with Leo referencing the sun, and Leo also governing the heart, and also children, which is, you know, where we see the innocence of love before we've been shaped and indoctrinated. So I'm very interested in this, and theta fit with Hermes and Mercury, and seemed very fitting to complete that work in Greece. I'm not really finished. I still need to add some pieces for that. It's a bit of a mess. I'm sorry for that. If you want to go check it out, it's on my other channel, Chris Van Gogh. I'm always taking down videos, uploading new ones because I'm editing and creating. So I'm in process with my work, and this is also something that I want to kind of show my process a little bit. I don't want to hide it. I want to show a bit the mess that it takes to get to a point where it's polished. Also to show that I'm not perfect and that I make mistakes and that things go wrong and files get lost and videos get lost, and I have to kind of find new ways to produce things with limited resources. Also, I'm very DIY. I travel a lot, so I don't like to have a lot of stuff. So it doesn't really make sense for me to set up like a high HD YouTube video making situation. Also, when I'm making music, I try and create it on almost the most limited software. I used to have a bunch of synths, which was a great kind of way to begin understanding sound design. But eventually they became like weights, and I couldn't. I felt weighed down by them, and also they were intimidating me. And I really think in this time where we have so many possibilities with the machine, the positives of technology, it creates this ability to be mobile and to be like a nomad, like I guess digital nomad, but to encompass who we really are as explorers and adventurers. When we first kind of explored this world, we can kind of come back to that, but through our digital devices. And I think that's a really amazing thing and positive part of technology that I want to fully engage in. So I don't make my stuff with a lot of expensive gear. I like to keep my bags very light. When you are traveling a lot, you are aware of even one extra thing being in there. And this is a really good way to keep my stuff being only the things that I need, only the things that I use, and to not accumulate crap. It's a great way to be aware of what I own and my things. And also there was this kind of, you will own nothing and be happy. So I'm like, well, I'll own nothing and be happy. I'll show you. This is a bit my rebelliousness against this, but hey, I don't know if that was a great idea or not. I'll find out. So yes, I make music for the planets. I'm very interested in mythology. I'm very interested in astrology. I want to make a video going into each planet and really exploring them in depth from multiple perspectives, through the current scientific perspective, but also through astrology, through my way of interpreting astrology, because I feel like I have a unique way of interpreting this. And I really feel that my work has, my music and exploring them in depth and kind of intentionally going deep into their archetypes and their existence has drawn me closer to them. And I'm really inspired by people like Tesla. I would never compare myself to Tesla, nowhere near on that level, but he was also experimenting with our ability to connect to the planets on a more psychic level than a physics level. And also I'm very inspired by Solomon in this time, because people might have some views of him being misogynist or whatever, but he's referenced a lot that the planets were his teachers, and also in the Kabbalists speak of Solomon very highly, that he wasn't screwing all his wives. He was giving them chambers to develop their feminine spirituality, which at the time of a very patriarchal world was quite forward thinking. And I choose to believe that about Solomon, because all other evidence around his existence point to him being a good human being who, like all human beings, got corrupted near the end. Or most human beings, if they gain power and influence, a lesson for us all to learn. But I do believe that there is an essence of him that tapped into planets and many others. It's talked a lot about in most spiritualities. We connect to the planets. And as I said before, I think it's really crazy that we're looking for life in the cosmos. That we don't think that because we are alive on this earth, which is alive, you go out into nature and you spend enough time there, you zoom into the level of life at the microscopic level. It's everywhere. And this system that we exist in is alive. And this idea that all the other planets aren't, I don't understand this. I don't understand how science can be so limited in their ability to even entertain the idea that the planets are alive, that they have a form of life that we can't really perceive because we're only kind of accustomed to our format of life. So I really think that by going into astrology, by studying mythologies and finding different ways to describe these things beyond the kind of very factual, limited linguistics of scientific texts and the way science kind of communicates itself in its current modality, we can find ways to understand something that goes beyond what we can perceive in our physical existence on this planet, and maybe tap into them more within our psyche. So what I want to do by creating these albums, by creating this music, is to hopefully create a foundation for someone else to listen and be inspired for their own process to explore the planet. So this is my process. It's flavored by my ego, my experience, my life process. But I essentially want to create a sonic map that I can, instead of speaking and telling, I can kind of invite somebody to listen and feel what these planets might want to express. What part of our psyche do they exist in? Do they speak within? And that's where I feel astrology links very closely to this, and through the astrology science, how we can kind of understand the metrics of cosmic energy beyond the way that it's expressed in a trillion different ways in the physical realm, how it kind of is reduced to what it archetypally expresses. That's how I understand astrology to be. And as a system, not to get too deep into identification, which a lot of astrology does, especially Western astrology. I don't follow Western astrology anymore. I used to. I'm more I'm more aligned to direct sky astrology, which is also Babylonian and Vedic astrology, which is if I point in the sky, that's exactly where the constellation is, because I want to be aligned to the cosmos. I don't want to believe in this kind of offset system that we've created with Western astrology. So to be more scientific with astrology than cultural, social astrology, because it's an amazing tool, and I think it really, if we really harness it in its proper way, not into the way that it's been kind of expressed into New Age modalities, it's a powerful way for us to not only understand why we're here, what we're here to do, how we came to be, our life path, our corrections, if you want to look at it from a Kabbalistic tikkun, how we move through this world, and kind of a map. Not everybody's going to need astrology to figure that out, but it's there to help people. So like many other things are, we can argue about what is the best way, but there's many ways. So I think it's a very powerful way. I think it's a very powerful way to structure your life a little bit around like seasons. We rest more in the winter, we're active more in the summer, and the same kind of, there's a lot of transits and different elements within astrology that we can, work with and start to take the planets into our own hands and use them for our own creative process, rather than be kind of punished and pushed around by their movement. So this is why I think it's a really important and powerful thing that we are neglecting in the realm of pseudoscience. So I hope with these videos, with what I do, with what I create, is to explore the possibility of spiritual science. And I don't feel that I can or want to do that alone, because I can't. I don't have the capacity to create any kind of science. But I think we can together. And I think we are existing in a really powerful time where we are having so much information available, especially of mythology, of indigenous information resurfacing through connectivity of people in remote places who are able to share things that were never written down, especially in Africa, and communicate that out into the world, that we can get all these pieces and we can start to perceive and work through it and look at what is the truth and what is not the truth. And I think this is what kind of encompasses what a lot of people talk about in New Age as the age of Aquarius, where Aquarius is the sign of purification, of truth, of knowing, whereas Pisces is belief. So as we kind of enter into this technological fork in the road, we can either choose utopia or dystopia. We can choose to be enslaved by it, or we can choose to become more powerful as creators if we are willing to, spend the time and the effort in understanding and learning. And I think that's something that I really also want to communicate in this first video, is how important it is right now to get active in the learning process and to never stop learning. If you are wasting time, you are moving more into a dystopian reality for yourself and for people around you, because you're allowing the very few people with power and wealth in this world to dictate how technology is used with you, and you are not enabling yourself to come up with new visions and new ideas, because our thoughts become reality. So if we don't engage in active learning and active understanding of these things, of these mechanisms, and it's too difficult, it's too complicated, we are essentially giving our power away to people who might not have our best interests at heart, who might make mistakes. I'm not saying they're all evil. I don't think they're all evil. I just don't think that it's healthy to have a homogenic or centralized road into this technological singularity that we're going into. I think it's really important that every single person who has extra 5 minutes, extra 10 minutes, energy to, capability to, no matter where you are in the socioeconomic or expert or not expert spectrum, to engage and form your own opinion, your own kind of idea or imagination how things could go, your own proposal of how to use technology, how that technology is best going to work for you, to push the authorities and the the systems around you to implement that technology in a way that benefits you, and also to explore it from a spiritual construct. Because I don't know, we've had millennia of evolving into this body that we exist in right now, which many religions would call an image of God. And God is a very loaded word that I sometimes shy away from. I prefer creation, or the cosmos, or the cosmic intelligence. The intelligence that knows when we eat a banana to turn it into a human being is beyond our human intelligence, because no scientist can turn a banana into a human being. So that intelligence must come from somewhere, or must exist etherically beyond our own intelligence. So whatever you want to call that, that we are willing to give that away for what we believe to be man's superior machine integration. I don't have an opinion of right or wrong with that. I'm like everybody else, living through that moment in real time. I will see how that turns out. We will see how that turns out. But I believe that there needs to be a way bigger conversation around the possible spiritual cause and effect. The huge leap that we're making from neglecting our organic structure for synthetic alternatives, and how we can maybe make better choices, or think a little bit more deeply around that. Don't need to come up with answers. Keep an open mind. We're in a process. There is no, anyone that kind of presents a factual outcome is lying, because we're in a process right now. No one really knows how this is going to turn out. We can project, we can, make projections and use quantum computing to figure out what we think might happen, but I think from a physical level we can perceive this, but from a spiritual level we don't know, and it's never been kind of documented in history, and there's a lot to lose. As somebody who has walked the earth exploring or being attracted to places of energy and of spirituality, and something beyond the superficial existence of a lot of society that exists right now, I'm scared that we're going to lose a bit of this, and that people are never going to be able to experience it. And I'm passionate about avoiding that, and at least creating or understanding ways to deprogram and de-integrate ourselves from machines if we choose to augment ourselves. I personally won't be doing that. I will definitely be on team organic if there is a team, but also I don't want to deny the power of synthesis. A synthesizer, which I use to make music, is synthesis, and this is an amazing tool, and I can create cosmic music through this machine. So definitely there is a clash between the organic and the synthetic in this time. I want to express that in my music, which is why I use mostly electronic music to kind of find the indigenous or the organic or the tribal, the shaman within the electronica, within the synthesis, because this contradiction massively interests me, and has interested me since the moment I heard my first electronic track. I think it was I was into pop music, and it was the 90s, the early 90s, as in pop music, and of course this was when electronic music started to come out, techno music started to explode. And I think because I started to get into a lot of metal music, I was a bit of a grumpy teenager. I started to listen to the Prodigy and the Chemical Brothers, and my God, and these sounds, and Daft Punk at the time, these people, these sounds, I was like, what is this? I don't understand. My brain doesn't understand, but it just was wow, this is creating such a different energy in my body, and there's something wrong about it, but there's also something so right about it. And since then it's kind of led me into all sorts of realms within electronic music, but also within binaural, which is an amazing way to use electronic music to create sound waves that affect our brains, that can tap us into theta brain waves, that can tap us into different understandings of our psyche, and to really experiment with how our thoughts and our mind state can affect our physical state, which is a huge space of health that I think health will go in the future. We won't be taking medicines as much. We won't be, this is my kind of vision of the future, we won't be needing the pharmaceutical industry as much, because we will understand, or we will integrate a little bit more frequency and understanding how light, sound, frequency can be used to help us with our health. And I think there's a lot of people out there who don't want that information to be discovered and shared en masse, but it's there, and I've seen the power of this. And I will share also some videos here of voice keys that I've learned from a beautiful teacher that I met in Greece, that can help with relaxing the system, using your own voice, your own frequency, right? Because your voice is your frequency. Your voice is a representation of you, and it can heal you. I can use my voice to affect you, but your voice is your key to your body. And she was teaching the connection and using certain keys with your voice to heal certain ailments, align certain parts of the body, relax certain muscles in the body, draw a makarba. If you don't know what this is, it's two triangles, bit like a 3D version of the Star of David. But this creates like a harmony within the system and clears the aura. So I will also teach that in these videos, and kind of my link between sound frequency and healing, and the little bit of work that I've done there that I'm very interested in opening, because I feel like the future is endless with this if we use technology the right way. So I guess after speaking a little bit and kind of hearing myself speak, I will end by saying that my main aim in this time is to provide a voice, and to provide my voice, because I think I want to speak to encourage others to speak, because I don't think it's healthy if we have an environment where we can't ask questions, and we can't criticize, and we can't speak, and we can't disagree. And if we disagree, we're called opinionated or egotistical. No, we should be encouraged to express our perception, share our experience, and create space and time where we can hear everybody, and make sure that we can manage the pace of change in a way that we don't leave people's voices silent and leave people behind, because we have a duty as a collective species to care for each other, and not to kind of drive headfirst into things with disregard for everybody else. So I want to provide my voice to the conversation around this through the methods of art and creativity and explorations and learning that I go into. I want to challenge myself to share my thoughts a little bit more, to tidy up my mind and to tidy up my speech, because I'm not very good at speaking in a very linear way. I have a bit ADHD, which I don't see as an illness. I think that we put these labels onto people, but we don't adapt society to find a way, or find the style of learning or expression that these people may have. For example, I believe ADHD people are a little bit more non-linear learners, whereas people who are not ADHD would learn in a more linear, structured order. Yet we impose a very homogenic and ordered learning syllabus or modality onto everyone, and we don't create enough room for people who learn differently to learn their way, to learn through engagement or touching or playing. Like, I was never somebody who could just sit and dictate and write things in a book. It's not how my brain works. I've tried. It doesn't work that way. I have to go out and touch and feel and play and experiment, and that's how I gain a very deep understanding of something. Yet I was not really allowed to do that in school. It's changing a bit more, but I don't believe our disorders are absolute ways to help a lot of issues that people have with learning, with existing, and with finding their place in the world. So that's another thing I'm really passionate about. And also transcending a little bit the binaries around gender and politics. As I said in the beginning, I watch a lot of conservative media and I watch a lot of liberal media and everything in between. I engage in a lot of scientific and medical journals. I read a lot of that, but then I also watch, you know, a lot of really out there spiritual channels. I try and keep it balanced as much as I can, as much as I can perceive, and to try and never kind of deem something as something that I can't learn from. So I want to promote that, and also provide a voice, because I see a lot of very fixed ideas around spirituality and gender and in identity and expression on both sides that don't really want to find a bridge between that, or see how those different ways may actually complement each other and don't need to oppose each other, and to try and find some harmony instead of be in a challenge or a war all the time with these thoughts and these ideas, and to try and bridge the gap, because this is what I feel we're being encouraged to do. So, okay, 45 minutes, it's enough. If you got this far, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you like what I'm talking about. I'm going to make more structured, ordered videos where I do a bit of research before, and I have topics on each of the planets and kind of explore them also with a little bit of sound that I've created, and explain a little bit about this. I want to do some educational videos on how to understand astrology, how to utilize astrology, the difference between Western and tropical and sidereal astrology. I say sidereal because it's easy to say. I think you say it a different way, but whatever. I want to talk a little bit about some mythology stuff, but not so deeply, because I'm very much a student in this, and I think I need to do a lot more work, but just certain things that I perceive. And hopefully breach a little bit the topics of... oh God, I've done a lot of talking. My brain is not working. Okay, it's time to stop. It's time to end. Chris, end. Okay, done. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoy me, if you want to know more. And yes, I hope to see you again. Please leave in the comment section any criticisms, any ways that you think, anything you want me to talk about, your own comments on what I've talked about. Criticisms, I already said this, I think. And yes, if you feel like you want to check out my music, it's Chris Van Gogh. Go check it out. You know, I created these symbols and a lot of visuals for this. You might find it interesting, but if you are new to my work, maybe wait until you've watched a few videos and you get a little bit of context. You might understand it a bit better. So yes, thank you for watching. Ciao.